Hey everyone, this is Chris Kies for Premier Guitar, hanging at the War Memorial in Nashville, Tennessee with Jade. Jade, how you doing?
Good.
Jade is a guitar player, composer, producer of AFI, one of my favorite bands. So this is a special treat for myself. So Jade, big Les Paul fan. I know that you play Les Paul traditionals and studios, but typically live studio is what you go with?
Yeah, the studio has kind of been my go-to. I used to play standards live, and they're so heavy. And in fact, this is a studio, but it is incredibly heavy. So I switched to studios because they're lighter, but this feels like it's made out of like solid ebony or something. It's just so heavy. But yeah, this is kind of like my main go-to one. It's got this logo from our couple records ago, but
does that light up? Because I know you had another studio. You had had like one that. Okay, we'll get to that one.
Okay, so yeah, this is my main guy.
What makes this one the main one right now?
It's just I had like 12 black studios, and they're all essentially the same, but they sounded different. Some of them sounded better, some of them sounded worse. Some got stolen, so I don't have as many now, but this is essentially the main guy because it sounds the best. Probably one of the reasons is because it's so heavy. Is it got like all that wood?
Yeah, I was gonna say, does that make it more mid-range focused or more like present in the mix that you
just
hear?
More resonant and more kind of warm. So, you know, you never know. It's always like a crapshoot with these guitars. You know, you never know what they're going to sound like, and this one's just particularly creamy sounding. So. And
would you say, or do you know if you recorded with that one at all, or is this one typically just a live?
I have actually, on our new album, the Blood album, I did some tracking with this one just because it sounds so good. And my main studio tracking guitar is a Cloud 9. Yeah. It's a limited edition.
Those are chambered, right?
Yeah. And that one's amazing, and I don't even want to bring that one on the road because it's like my baby. So like that one never makes it out here, but this is kind of my second best sounding road guitar.
Is that different for you to go from a chamber guitar? I know probably in the studio you're probably sitting down, so it's a lot more comfortable, but with this or any of your heavier guitars, do you feel the difference between, not tonally, but just wearing a guitar? Does that wear on you?
Because we move around a lot on stage.
Absolutely.
And so like, you know, when you got a big tank like this, you know, you can feel how heavy this thing is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you're running around with this thing around your neck, it's a lot different than running around with a chambered guitar around your neck. So, but this sounds good, so I can't deny it.
Cool. And is there anything you've done to it besides the artwork with from the cover?
You know what? I've had so many Les Pauls, and I just decided I love stock pickups. I always leave stock pickups in there. I've tried to swap them out, different pickups, and I always come back to the stock. These just don't have the plastic tuners, you know. So they got a little nicer tuners. I don't think I have any of the plastic ones on there, but I used to even leave the plastic tuners on there, you know. So I just like the stock setup.
And before we go down the line, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, you're a 10 to 46 Ernie Ball guy.
That's right.
Yeah. And why have you always been in the 10 to 46 group?
They're kind of the perfect medium between those two light like 9 shredder strings, which are just, you know, I play all the strings a lot.
Yeah.
Know? So
your major chords.
Yeah. So you don't. It's easy to bend, especially when you're running around. If your strings are too light, it's easy to bend them out of tune, you know, if you're jumping or something. So this is the perfect medium. And then like the super heavy strings, they just don't have as much facility of being able to bend and play leads and do what you need to do. So in the studio, actually, I'll play a little heavier string just because it sounds a little better. But these 10 to 46 is my go-to.
And you did say you don't want to, you know, the thinner strings are for shredders, but you shouldn't discount yourself that you shred. Or you. At least, I know it goes against the punk rock ethos of, you know, quick and fast and hard and aggressive, but you definitely, you know, I mean, you incorporate finger tapping like on Dancing Through Sunday and Snowcats, like that's something that you bring into the game. So it's you still are punk, but it brings in a whole other flavor. I've always appreciated about your playing.
Yeah, when I'm at home by myself, I'll shred for an hour just because it's fun.
Yeah.
Like when you're a guitar player, that's like the funnest thing to do, really.
Yeah.
Sitting around playing a bunch of chords isn't as exciting as shredding, but I try not to, you know, bring it too much into the AFI world just so it doesn't get, you know, it's kind of like not what we're about.
Yeah.
But I put some solos. I'll put some solos in a song, you know.
Well, it's a treat. Let's move on to the next one.
So the main reason I have multiple guitars is they're all different tunings.
Okay.
So say this is a D sharp. D sharp is our usual, what we play in.
Most of the time. Okay.
And then this one is a E standard. And this is just another studio, the Alpine White. I had 6 of these, but once some of them got stolen as well. I had a bunch of, like 22 guitars stolen from like a storage unit. So I don't know how many, I think I have 2 of these left, but I really like the Alpine White. It's such a cool color for these. See, all of our E standard stuff is in this one. Once again, stock everything.
And what, whether it's songs or maybe albums or periods of the band that E standard's in?
It's weird. Like, we'll go back and forth. Like, pretty much everything on Sing the Sorrow and December Underground is a half step down.
Okay.
But a lot of the stuff on records after that were E standard, and so, you know, it just depends. I don't know why.
Is that like more of a vibe thing? Because I don't know if, like, I know Davey has such a wide range that he probably doesn't have to have you guys move and keys to accommodate his range, because I feel like he can handle everything.
He does have a pretty high range. We'll do it sometimes to help him out, just to make it easier on him, because, you know, when you're on tour for a month and you're singing stuff like from Black Sails or something, which is like everything he wrote back then was in a B. It's like, I'm singing up here, but screaming, not just singing, but screaming in a B, and you know, that's a high note to scream in. So, you know, we'll bring it down. I even have my guitar over here that's a D. It's tuned down to D, not like a drop D, but like all the way down to D. So a full step, all the strings a full step, just for some stuff that's like super high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so what, it looks like you have actual Les Paul here.
This guy right here is my only standard that I have out, and I actually got this guitar.
It's beautiful.
Because it's light. You can feel how light this is.
Oh,
yeah. It's a standard. So this is my guitar when I really want to just take a break from those heavy tanks. It's got a kind of an ill color to it. I mean, it's got the brown wood and then the blue.
Yep.
It's sort of a weird color scheme, but see, this actually has Seymour Duncan pickups in there.
Is that how it was when you got it? Or
no, I put those in there. I don't necessarily like it better, but it's a little different sound. So, you know, just a little something different when I picked this one up. And like I say, the main reason I have this one is because it's light. And so it doesn't sound as good as this one, but I'll take the lightness over the sound for a couple songs during the set, you know. So, yeah, that's my standard. And then down the line, we got this silver guy. This is a really good sounding guitar. It's really beautiful too. I really like the look of this guitar.
Yeah, it's a color you don't see very often.
Yeah, and I usually just play it during Silver and Cold because it's silver. Right now I've actually got it tuned to drop D, half step down. So it's like C sharp.
Okay.
Because there's a couple songs we do like Paper Airplanes and that are drop D. So that's kind of like my go-to drop D guitar. But yeah, I really love this guitar. I'm glad this one didn't get stolen.
Not yet.
Not yet. It's always time.
Yeah, right.
And then my final one. So this is my other black studio, and this one is the one that I had sort of made to recreate the cover of our Burials album, and I had them hollow it out and put LEDs in there, so it's got kind of like the eclipse effect, and when we got a lot of smoke on stage, it kind of, you know, with the LEDs, it's kind of a cool effect. It's got the matte black finish that they put on there, so yeah, so they just turned one of these pots into the LED dimmer.
Do you notice if it affects the tone at all? How you hear?
You know, I don't notice any effect on the tone, which is nice. No buzz even.
Yeah.
This also actually has Seymour Duncan pickups, so I guess I lied. I don't always have all stock pickups.
Would you say that this one, and this is just my reference, maybe it's just because it stands out with the light inside of it, but last time I saw you guys in 2014, that was the one I've seen you run around on stage with the most. Is that one maybe the oldest one or the one you played the longest out of this group, or
no?
Not necessarily.
I guess I just sort of have favorites. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
Maybe this was my favorite back then, you know, and this is like, I kind of returned to this one as my favorite. So there's nothing wrong with this guy. This is a good guitar. It sounds good. Another tank though. It's pretty heavy.
Must be that light.
Yeah, the light's at least 10 pounds. 10 years and 10 pounds.
And right over here, now we got turning around. We got amps and effects. You want to talk to us? I guess let's talk about Diamond.
Yeah, so Diamond, you know, I spent years trying to figure out what I wanted on the road, and I used to take out Marshalls, and I had a modded Plexi. A lot of stuff that I used in the studio I tried to bring out on the road, and it just never was the right sound. I started out with dual rectifiers.
Yeah, I remember the Mesa Boogies.
And finally I got turned on to these amps in the studio on Crash Love, and this a boutique company out of Texas, out of Houston, and like most people haven't heard of them, but they're great amps. They make a bunch of different ones, but the Nitrox, I guess it's called, is the ones that I've always used, and yeah, they kind of, to me, have that sound that's a cross between Mesa and a Marshall. It's heavy, but it's clean enough so it's not just like a metal sound. You know,
Yeah.
it's got like some kind of thick, clean kind of. You can really pick the notes out. So yeah, I love it.
And it probably compliments on the reason you take it is one thing I've always appreciated live and in the studio is the production quality that you put into it and the sound that, I know this is a buzzword and it's used a lot, but like three-dimensional sound, it's very thick and it's not real, sometimes with certain types of music or just in general, it gets real thin and abrasive. And whenever I hear you guys are on record or in studio or in live situations, it's always a very well-rounded, almost not punishing, but a very thick, straight-ahead sound that's always appreciated out front.
Yeah, you know, I definitely in the studio I try to do a lot of blending of amps. I don't just put up. Sometimes I will, but usually I don't just put up one amp and that's the sound. Like I try to sculpt it, blend two different dirty amps, and even blend a clean combo amp in there, just to get every element of the sound, the clean picking, that mid-range, the heavy bottom, you know. Sometimes you got to put a lot of stuff together to get just the right sound.
How do you do that live? Are these both running at the same time and you have them different sculpted for that type of stuff, or you just one back up?
Yeah, so one there's ISO cabs and they'll go to different cabs and they both have, one's a little cleaner than the other one, and each cab has multiple mics on it.
Okay.
So yeah, our sound guy Ben is amazing, and we've really worked on just upping the game of my live sound, you know, throughout this whole run, and it's really coming together.
And I guess the next step up would be your pedals. It just looks like you get a few of them in the rack.
Yeah, so I've never been like a pedal board guy, you know, I've never been like a million pedals, and I actually have a remote switch. So all my pedals are actually in my rack, and then my remote switch is out there on the stage. So I really am just running very simple. I've got 2 gain pedals, I've got a reverb pedal, a delay pedal, and then I've got the Chaos pad.
What are you using that for?
I'll use it for little things like there's a middle 8 part of Girls Not Gray where it does this kind of twinkly sound.
Yeah.
And so, you know, my guitar tech will like do the Chaos pad. And you know, because on a Chaos pad you have to manually like change the sound of it. So
you could put one on there, one of your guitars like Matt Bellamy, you could tape it right on there.
I know, that's what I need, right? I feel like if I did that though, then I'd just be ripping them off. So you know, I got to go for the old school manual style. That. So yeah, like it's nice just having these out of the way and in here, and I just control them over there. So
what are the two differences between the two drivers there? Like how you have them set up?
They're just set a little, I mean, they're in parallel. They're just set a little different. Sometimes I'll have them both running if I really want to go for a high gain sound.
Yeah.
And then if I just want to get a little bit of oomph to it, it'll be, I'll just kick one of them on.
One thing I'm surprised I don't see is a chorus or phase pedal, because I think that's, at least studio-wise, I hear that quite a bit, or at least it's there, and I'm surprised I don't see either one of those pedals.
Well, I've got that in my clean sound, which comes from the Pod. You know, I used to take out for years, I used to take out combo amps for my clean sound. Like, you know, I started with AC30s, I took out Fender Twin reverbs, the Jazz Chorus, the Roland Jazz Chorus amp, which I love, which is like the Robert Smith sound.
Yep.
That was my favorite one, but none of them were roadworthy. They'd break down, they'd get too hot and crap out. And so finally, for a clean sort of chorus inflected sound, like this is just, it sounds really good. And you know, like I probably would never use something like a solid state thing like that Kemper or an Axe Effects for my dirty sound. It's never worked for me. But for clean, not only is it crazy reliable, it sounds really good. And it actually sounds a lot like the Roland Jazz Chorus. So my chorus effect is actually in here.
So how does that run, the line 6 with the amps? Is that always on, kind of mixed in also with the signal, or are you kicking this on and off?
Yeah, this is just for clean.
Okay.
So that doesn't run at all with my dirty sound. And then I've got this guy, which is kind of like the edge delay, you know, as a little extra delay. There's some stuff where I do the triplet, where it's got to be timed, you know, to the correct BPM. So this is my sort of effect for that sound.
And towards the end of Medicate is one of the songs I've always wanted to, if I got this chance, I'm going to ask Jade this, is towards the end of Medicate, I hear a wah, but I don't see, and I could be just imagining things, I don't see a wah out there, but what is happening in that solo towards the end of the song, where, I don't know if you guys play that live so you don't have to replicate it, but I'm sure you've had to do it before. I'm always curious about the effects that are happening in that.
There is a wah as an element of that, and I did it in the studio, but I just never bothered to take one out on the road. I just play it straight, you know? Like, it would be funner if I brought a wah pedal out, but I don't know, laziness or just, you know, I just never.
Because you don't like to be tied into one spot.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to have it out there, which is true, and it kind of ruined the cleanliness of my thing out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, since if we played that song every night, I'd probably do it. And there's like the beginning of Dancing Through Sunday, a song you mentioned before.
Yeah.
The intro is a phase effect on the guitar. And so, like, I used to have a rack-mounted phase thing that I'd have my guitar tech sweep it. Because,
really?
You know, it's hard to do a filter sweep live. And maybe they make pedals that do that now, but to do a real, like a filter sweep that I did in the studio, which I did in a computer, you know, to do that live, it's very difficult. So I just ended up playing that clean too. So, you know, you do what works best live. It may not always sound exactly like the record, but you know.
Try the best you can.
Yeah.
And another specific song I was curious about was 37 millimeter, like towards the beginning. What's going on there with effects? I feel like there's got to be at least for sure a delay and maybe some chorus or flange. I was curious about what else you got going on for that.
Chorus and delay, and I also actually created, you know, sometimes when I'm going for some wacky stuff, I'll use Guitar Rig, Native Instruments.
Okay.
You know, and I'll do a lot of in the box along with other plugins, and I, you know, because I do a lot of stuff in Ableton, so I'll create stuff that you could never create with outboard gear, and I'll do that in the studio. So it's the challenge to bring that live too, but it's just, there's such a world of possibilities that you can do in your computer with your guitar, because, you know, it's easy to use these pedals and these amps and get a sound, but those sounds have probably been done a million times, you know, but when you're working with stuff in the computer, you can do crazy soundscapes with your guitar that, you know, are just...
It sounds inspiring.
Yeah.
Sometimes people shun that, but it sounds like you almost embrace the technology to be inspired.
I do. I mean, I guess if you're a purist, you might say, well, you know, stuff you do in the computer, I mean, that's not really what the guitar is about, and even pedals, and, you know, this is what it's really about. But for me, just making interesting sounds with my guitar, I've been playing guitar long enough now that I want to, you know, move beyond this and try other stuff as well.
Yeah. And well, and you also, I know that credit in the records and stuff is that you play keyboards and I'm sure other types of instruments, so I'm sure you take inspiration from that too, not just being a guitar player, but you're producer, composer of the band, and so I'm sure you pull a lot of inspiration from non-stick string areas.
I do. A lot of my writing, I'll do it on the piano, I'll do it on a keyboard, a bass, I'll start with a bass, I'll start with guitar, you know, drums. So, you know, these days it's more inspiring not just to pick up the guitar and have that be the be-all, end-all, you know.
Well, the last question I have for you, and I should ask when we're talking guitars, is picks. Do you have a specific pick that you enjoy, or is there anything that you always kind of like tried and true?
Here it is right here. We usually put like our album logo on the pick, and these are just the Dunlop's 46 is that wrong? Is that right? That's not right?
Are they thin? Oh yeah, like definitely 46.
Yeah, so I've used the same pick probably since 1998 when I joined AFI.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's just like...
And you're more wrist than like I would be. I'm a huge arm dude.
I'm all wrist. I've never, in 25 years of playing live, I've never broken a string on stage.
Wow, it's gonna happen tonight.
I know, knock on wood. I'm all wrist, so like I don't blast a string, so like that's one thing about being all wrist is like, you know, you're not sitting there in the middle of a song with a broken string, so...
Dude, Jade, this has been a treat. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, appreciate it.
Thank you. We're gonna head on and talk over to Hunter.
Okay, great.
All right, we're over here with Hunter. I guess technically in the exact same spot. We switched them out. Jade for Hunter. Hunter, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Appreciate it. I'm doing very well. Appreciate the time. We're up against sound check, so let's get right into it.
All right.
What's this number one all about?
It's just a stock Fender P bass. It's about 5 years old, and this is my only bass that it goes into the studio and goes on tour.
All right. You trust it?
I trust.
Sense that, well, not gonna lose it or break it.
It was meant to be a touring only bass, and it just sounds so good that I bring it into the studio. And I don't know. I mean, I'll eventually retire it, but for now, it's doing both.
You like jazzes too. You're not. You go on both camps. You know, sometimes you guys are P or J.
In the studio, I'll definitely do. I'll do whatever sounds right in the song.
Perfect. And it
usually ends up being about 50-50. Live, I've been sticking to the P basses for about 10 years now.
All right.
So.
Just how it works.
Before that, it was all jazz basses. So, you know, it's just kind of changing it up, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe another 10 years you can go back to the jazz.
Yeah.
So what strings are you using?
You know, I don't even know.
Do you know gauges maybe?
The gauge is, I think, a 105 through 45.
Okay.
Just pretty standard. I like a little thicker on the bottom. But really anything that is on the bass will be fine. You know, I'm not a big string guy.
And are you playing with fingers, or you pick, or both?
I play with pick probably 90% of the set, just really digging in, and then the other percentage of the set that's a little more mellow, where I need to get a little softer sound, I'll use fingers for that.
Gotcha.
And then I use my fist for like maybe 1%.
What part do you go ham-fisted?
There's a part on the second verse of Miss Murder where I'm just slamming it, and it's, you know, I mean, you can see like,
oh wow,
got a nice little bruise there.
He's doing it for the kids.
It's it takes its toll sometimes. If my alignment isn't perfect.
Anything for the craft, though.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the next one you got up here?
The next one is my best attempt to have the same exact bass, but it's not really any different, but it just sounds different. It has a thicker tone. That's just the roll of the dice.
Is this more of a backup, or is there specific songs like this one gets out on?
This one is the first bass I tune to D flat standard, and this is an E standard. So, we use this on most of the newer songs, and it's just
Blood album.
Yeah, it's just meant to be sort of like as close to that bass as possible in sound, and the difference is it has a red pickguard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the last one I see down the line there.
The last one. All right. This is referred to as the party bass.
And why would that
and I'll
be?
tell you why. Well, first off, it's tuned to D standard, which is the lowest we've ever tuned, and it allows us to play a lot of the older songs that would just be too vocally challenging.
Yeah.
So, so it's basically like a party for Dave singing these songs, and it's this is a different one. This is one of the new American Pro series that Fender put out, and my guy at Fender sent this to me. I'm so grateful. He's like the best guy in the world. And it just sounded great, like right out of the box. I took a chance. Like he just sent it to me on the road with no setup, nothing.
Yeah.
And just, took it out on stage, and it was great. So
It's become the party bass.
yeah, and it's it's a maple neck. It's a little different. It has just a little slightly different tone. But it's cool. It's not, it's not so like out of the range of these other basses. They're all relatively similar. So, yeah, but I only get to play it on like the older songs so far.
Yeah, never know. And so, without moving over to the area, you got, I know I saw Ampegs. What, Ampeg SVTs?
Yeah, SVT Classics.
Have you been using those for a while?
I've been using those for, at least 15, maybe close to 20 years.
Like those models, or those amps specifically?
Those models, yeah.
Gotcha.
Those amps specifically I've been using for about 8 or 9 years. Mm-hmm. And I would be using them longer, but before that I had white ones, and these are black. So.
And you like the tube power versus, any more bass amps can be the size of like a lunchbox.
Yeah, the tube sound is my sound. And, I'm sure some of the people actually loading the gear wish that I had some solid state stuff, but it's, to me, that's part of the sound, part of the experience. I just want to feel it. It's very visceral. So, I bring 3 of them.
That's visceral for sure.
Yeah.
And pedal board is small but utilitarian. What do you got on there?
Well, let's see. Start with the graphic fuzz, which I use, maybe not in the way a lot of people would use it. I use it to get a very non-bass sound. I have all the lows scooped out of there, and I use it in a couple sections during the set where I need a very affected bass sound. So there's a section in Beautiful Thieves where I do a finger tapping thing that needs to have a different sound, and let's see what else. In Medicate, during the bridge section, it's anytime where I need to have the like least bass-like sound, I use that pedal. Then I have the bass microsynth, which I use in a bunch of different songs, and that has like an octave engaged, so it has a lower, more synth-like sound, and I use that in songs like I Hope You Suffer, and The Conductor, and what else is that in? Face Beneath the Waves. Anytime where I need a really subby, like kind of a slower sound, And sometimes I will use that also with the bass big muff when I really just want to kind of blast out that sound. And then the bass big muff I use on just a handful of songs here and there when I need to have just something a little thicker with a I don't know, a bit more
Bite.
Yeah, a bit more bite, something that'll fill up more. There's a couple songs where Jade on the chorus isn't playing a lower part, he's playing something a little higher, and so I just kind of fill out that low end mid range with that.
Man, I gotta say, you guys always sound great live. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang
thank
out
you.
right before sound check. Appreciate it, guys. Another rig rundowns from your guitar.
Don't forget to sign up for PG Perks, your all-access pass to exclusive gear giveaways and discounts on PremierGuitar.com.